Welcome, Forex fans. It's Rob here from Explorate18. Here I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today with Zephon, which is to basically do like a review let's play, and it will complement my written review, which will be coming shortly. Unfortunately, I had a bout with COVID that kind of knocked me on my butt, so I'm going to play the game and talk about the things that I like and don't like, and play it a bit more critically than I would normally play. So we'll start by looking over the new leaders. So we've got the Practical Romantic, which is the new human leader, of course, with the human affinity. It allows you to reallocate things, so basically you can scrap units to use their resources again, and you can also boost morale. And you have your rogue operative with the cyber affinity. It does something that I really like called the hit and run, which means you can actually hit somebody or attack somebody and then move. And then they can also use a satellite to attack people. And then the Untold Prophet, of course there's other stuff too, right? You guys can look over the other stuff, the other characteristics. The last one, the Untold Prophet, is the voice affinity, and it has the Armor of Faith, which makes a unit invulnerable, and it also reduces loyalty penalties for each city with its cult expansion. I'm going to choose the Untold Prophet because I haven't actually played with him, and we're going to go over some of the things so I hate to start this game off in a negative aspect or a negative light, because quite frankly I'm really enjoying Zephon. And if that's all you need to hear is Zephon, is it great? It's great. It's a great game. I really appreciate what they've done here. Proxy Studios has taken their really awesome war-centric Forex formula and created even deeper mechanics here with their diplomacy and some asymmetry between their leaders. And on top of that, they've really created a really cool world that I really appreciate. And there's a new in-game like crisis that I really appreciate as well. It feels very much like, I mean, honestly, this is the closest game I think that you could have right now that comes to like the feel with regards to how the leaders interact and how the variety of leaders like look upon the world as Alpha Centauri. And I think that's a really big praise, and I really do believe that that's the truth. It's not quite Alpha Centauri level because, quite frankly, you're not doing some of the things that, you know, there's not as much depth in this game as there was in Alpha Centauri, but the overall feel and the universe that they've created here is very much Alpha Centauri like. So if you needed a one-word review, it's great. In fact, that's not even one word. Fantastic. That's the word I'd use. It's fantastic. It's still, there's still room for improvement, right? So, and what I'll talk about with that is that the one thing that kind of leaves me wanting right now is while I think the leaders do a decent enough job of creating some asymmetry, I still think the game would have really benefited from each of these leaders having a unique unit and maybe a couple more unique actions to make them feel much more asymmetric. And on top of that, to provide a bigger incentive for replayability. I think they can still do that. And I think what they've got here as a base game is good. It's just not great. And as far as asymmetry goes, I'm not saying the rest of it isn't great, because it is. The asymmetry could use some help. And that's only because I start to feel like I'm playing the same game. Like, so there's like basically three games, right? There's the cyber game, the human game, and the voice game. And I really appreciate that there are three different paths that you can take. And of course, you can also take the mix and match path too. You know, you can add a little bit of voice, a little bit of human, a little bit of cyber, whatever it is, and create your own, like, you know, ultimate build. But honestly, that starts to become much less effective towards the end of the game, where you start to need resources that you're just not going to get if you haven't focused on one of them. So what I can say too is that right now I've got a mutator, so I've picked up a few mutators throughout my games. And this one, what are you? It only allows the leaders to research technologies with their affinity or no affinity, and that does create a more asymmetric feel that I really appreciate. So I really like that they've done as much as I think they could on the budget they have and with the team they have to provide an asymmetric game with their leaders. I think, unfortunately though, it falls ever so slightly short of being a game that you can replay over and over and over again. And so that's just honestly, it's a minor quibble. It's not a giant thing. It's not huge. For some reason, I think my settings here, I'm gonna go to video and make sure that all the things are super high. I don't know if they can get much better. All right, good to go. And so, actually, I do think there's a setting here that I could add. Yep, anti-aliasing, fixed time of day. No. No, I'm good. Alright, so with that, though, I think that there's enough for a base game. I think the asymmetry is enough for a base game. And I really like the level of possibilities, I should say, of where they could go with expansions, DLC, and stuff like that. And, you know, Proxy Studios has done a great job of supporting Gladius, Warhammer 40k Gladius, Relics of War. And I hope to see that same level of support for Zephon, because I think of the two games, this game is better. That's easy for me. I love Warhammer 40k, but I think this universe and the evolution of the combat mechanics and, you know, just the evolution of diplomacy mechanics and all these other things that they didn't have in Warhammer 40k have really cemented this game as a very solid 4X game. I just wish the asymmetry was there a little bit stronger. I'm a big asymmetric gameplay guy, so I really like my factions to feel like they're playing differently. But I still see the room for improvement there. I mean, adding a unit to each of the leaders and really like honing in on some of that, like that deeper level of asymmetry would really satisfy me. But what's here is good enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and found my first city. We're gonna look to see what we've got here. So I've gone with the voice affinity, so I'm gonna try to come over here closer to where the... Yeah, so I forgot the algae. Yep, that's right. Sorry, I was gonna say it was algae, and I was like, that doesn't sound right. So actually, we'll move these guys over. Ooh, that's really loud. Let me fix that here. Sorry about that. And weirdly enough, I thought that... Yeah, we'll come down to 21% here, and just make sure that it's not really gonna get in the way. And then even better, I'll turn up the music just a little bit so you guys can hear it just a little bit. I think the music is fantastic in this game. There's not enough tracks in my opinion, but it's still very good. So what we can do here is we'll move over to Found City. Looks like they like these two spots. I'm assuming that's why it's flashing white. I haven't seen that before. That might be a new addition.
Let's build something great here.
It's still really loud. Wow. I don't know why it's doing that. So, oh, it's because I brought the master volume back up. I'm an idiot. Alright, so we'll take this down, and then we'll actually bring the music volume up to like 67% so you can hear it. There we go. Alright, sorry, I should have done that before this game, but I unfortunately forgot, and I don't want to re-record. I've already done it like 3 times. So, with that said, so let's look at some of the things that we like. So, I'm going to order my units here, of course. We're going to come grab some of these cyber caches here. I do wish too that when you choose one of the affinities, like one of these factions, that the surrounding, like your starting area is a little bit more likely to have the things you need. Sometimes you'll start off as a voice affinity and you won't be anywhere close to algae, and that's frustrating because it hamstrings you a bit. And you can't really expand for quite some time in this game, which I appreciate. I really do actually like that you can't expand too much within this game. But I don't like that it sometimes can really determine, like the starting area for your faction can really determine whether or not you're going to have a good game. And so I think that there should be like some weights on, you know, like basically some proclivity towards getting the starting area that you need in order to get off to a good start. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can have an option for that, but I think that's preferably what I would have. It's just like Endless Legend. Like if you start with your variety of, you know, like if you start with the Broken Lords, you're more likely to start in the sand and the desert area where there's more dust. So anyway, with that said, let's go ahead and order our city. We're going to go ahead and take a tile. And it looks like this would be a good place to take because this is the Wasteland Recycling Tanks. And it's going to add an algae per turn once I have it inside my city. So I'm going to go ahead and take that, acquire that tile. And then I'm also going to set up a second tile. This one's probably going to be my better one. Oh, actually, I'll take this one here for the minerals and the algae, because we'll need minerals to produce units as well, especially the basic beginning units. Alright, so our second thing is our research. So here, what they've done recently is they've added an ability to take away certain aspects, certain trees within the technology tree. And I like that, but here, because we're playing with that mutator, it's only going to show me the voice and generic technologies in order, because that's all I'm allowed to research, and I like that. I like that a lot. So we can use the acts of piety for negative 0.5 population influence upkeep while above 2 loyalty. But what I like to do is I like to take the expedition outfitter to begin with, because you're gonna quickly be taking some of these outposts, and I like the influence bonus you grab from those. So we could look at all these, but we're not going to. I do like that there's an extensive amount of universe building here, and for each thing that you discover, there's basically like a blog entry. I forgot what they call it, the compendium. I've actually never tried to say that word. Compendium. Yeah, that looks right. But one of my frustrations is that every game you play, all these are going to pop up, even if you've read them every single time. So I'd like to see an option to only see them once, right? Like if I read about the volcanic forest cliff, or whatever it is, anything that pops up, or one of these guys, right? If I read about the Akron Zealots, I want to be able to read about it once and then never see it pop up before it again, as an option. I think that's just it. It gets a little frustrating to constantly have to like right-click those notifications off. So we're gonna exit our city and we're gonna end our turn. And what I can say too is that we'll get to them, all right? But the NPC factions in this game are actually really well fleshed out, and I think that's where another opportunity is lost, right? Because that same fleshing out, that same very asymmetric feel of the NPCs. So you got Zephon, you've got not the barbarians, but whatever they are. I forgot what they're called. They're basically like the Mad Max barbarian crew. And then you have the Anchorite, and I think that's it. I don't think if there's another one. But the various NPC factions feel very asymmetric, and that they have very different strengths. I mean, a lot of the times the Anchorite just overwhelm everybody, but I really like that. I really like how different they feel, and I think that that's kind of where I would have liked to have seen the asymmetry with the leaders go. Is a little bit more, wildly different. But again, I'm not going to belabor the point. I just think that the NPC factions are great. I love the voice work that they are going to show you here in a little bit. And I also really like that they have a very unique set of strengths and weaknesses. So the other thing I'm going to discuss real quick while we're looking at it is I think the game looks great, right? I mean, clearly it has a strong Gladius look, but it clearly is an upgrade in almost every way. And the feel of it very, very much feels like a post-Armageddon, wasteland, and I love that about this game. I think they nailed the aesthetic, and it really helps to make the game feel exactly how it should. So we're going to start moving some units to these caches here. Looks like we picked up a parser. So a parser with +2 accuracy. This is another thing too, is like I really want the opportunity for I don't know if I need nested tooltips as much, but like I don't know what accuracy does in this game. And I say that because, I mean, I assume it makes you more accurate, of course, duh, but like what does that even mean? And you can't find that out in the compendium. So like if I go through here and features, or I mean any of these, right? So like traits, it doesn't show me what accuracy does in any of them. And so these different traits that your units gain, some of them are there, right? So some of them are great, you can see them, but like if you go through and you look at all these morale, movement, actions, group size, bite, like there's great things here, right? There's a lot of information, but one of the few things that I don't get and I don't understand and I don't get information on is the accuracy. And so it just feels like a bit of a missed opportunity here to help me understand why, like, maybe accuracy is a good thing. I mean, does it add damage? I mean, I'm assuming it does in some way, but I don't know. So, yeah, one other thing, but I get kind of a small squabble, but it is something that I don't quite understand about this game. So these things are kind of a pain in the butt. They will spit out deformities, and the deformities are actually pretty tough this early. But we're going to go ahead and see if we can take them out with our dragoons here.
Ready for
I love how difficult the game is, honestly. I love how that there are like constantly things to fight, because it does create tension, and it allows for the player to feel like, you know, that there's not like, it just feels like a very dangerous wildland, right? Like a dangerous post-apocalyptic setting. And I like that about this game. And it worked well for Gladius. It works well for Zephon here. And it curtails, you know, wild expansion or just reckless play. And I appreciate that as well, too. So, like I said, the deformities are pretty strong. We might lose, yeah, we're going to lose some of our Dragoons here. I didn't expect it to all come running at me like that. Let's see if we can try to knock these out before they kill me. What is this here? Let me see what this is. This is the Tame Abcluth. Changes control of target enemy Abcluth to Rob. I guess I can, if I'm around Abcluths, I can do that. I didn't know. I don't remember seeing that. That's pretty cool. Alright, Words of the Prophet. So, cost scales of the strength of the target. Changes control of target enemy non-titan, non-hero, non-headquarters unit with finite morale to Rob. Let's see if I can do this with somebody. Okay, so the cost of influence is quite high. It is a pretty cool skill, though. Words of the Prophet. Yeah, I might lose these Dragoons. If I don't, I'm going to pull them back for sure. Alright, we'll grab you back here, and we'll go ahead and have you hold position until healed. We'll see if we can take these guys out with our relatively full strength Dragoons here. Can I attack them? I cannot. Let's see how close we are to. There we go. We can finally start to build stuff. So we're going to go do the Midnight Chorus here. And then we'll take a fermentation vat. Oh, I don't know. I don't know that I need that yet. Actually, I might. I think the Abcluths, yes. Nope. They don't cost any, no upkeep of algae. So we'll go to building a mineral extractor here instead. Oh, these guys might hurt me. Yep, they hurt pretty good.
Ready for the hunt.
Alright, the Expedition Outfitter, great. So here's where it gets kind of interesting, right? Like, so I think that's one of the most beneficial first time. I mean, you could do a bunch of things. I'm sure there's probably arguments for all of them. I'm going to likely increase my... Oh, I don't know. I like to have a hero early, because it really helps out with, like, the clearing out of these kind of, you know, NPCs. These, I guess they're called NPC units, right? Yeah, let's go with that. The creeps. So I'm gonna try to hit these guys a little bit, because that way they won't hit me back as hard. And these might actually die off, because they do lose 2 hit points per turn. So they might die off. Yeah, this one will die off next round, and this will die off in 2 rounds. So I'm not super worried about those two. And we'll move on to the next row. There we go. That one died. And I gained experience points from that. And they didn't hit me quite as hard as they did last time, which is good. So, worked out in my favor. I'm going to go ahead and take these guys out as hard as I can. These guys are going to die next turn. I should be able to get some experience from that. And these guys are regaining their health, which is good. Good, so they're dead. I leveled up. I wish I could see too what leveling up gets me. So like as they level up, showing like +2 hit points, or you know, whatever it is that comes with that would also be cool to see. That way I can understand what leveling up is really kind of giving my units. Alright, good to go.
The creature's bloodlust is
So now I have 2 level 2 characters, 2 level 2 Dragoons, which is good. So I can start to maybe heal these guys, and what I'll do is I'll start to move these guys around and explore a bit more. Alright. take this cash, and then we have a capturable outpost, so we'll take that for the influence, and of course some chips which we can sell in the Concordat. So we'll be able to sell these things that we want, like these 17 chips that we'll never use. We can sell those now even, and we'll sell them for 5 influence, right? So we now have 67 influence. Nothing big. We definitely influence is a bit of a like an underrated resource here in this game, and I would stress the people to consider it more, because there's so many things you can do with influence. I mean, like especially with these guys, you can use the words of the prophet. You can buy a bunch of really good items from the Concordat, and then also, of course, you can buy units from the NPC factions, which all those things are game changers. Alright, so some more influence. And we'll let these guys heal just a bit more. I'm afraid that they're probably gonna spawn again next turn, actually. So they spawn every 10 turns. Alright, what a crushing blow for them. We're gonna go ahead and see if we can attack them. The Anchorite have called us. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and accept that call. Alright, so they're going to like us because they're voice, right? And we are also voice, like the affinity that we have. And the voice affinity is basically like the alien affinity, and those are very much the aliens of this game. Alright, Whisper of Goldrach. Good to go, so we'll be able to take that, and then let's look to see what's next, right? So we could do this. This applies negative 2 hit points for being poisoned, and I really like this as a really good trait for your Dragoons early on. So I'm going to go ahead and take that, and then we'll evaluate what we're going to do next.
Ready for the hunt.
Ready for the hunt. Alright, we'll come up here, see what's going on. Looks like we got caught by someone who's overwatching.
Steady, steady.
And we're going to lose that unit. Very likely. Let's hope we can do enough damage. Yeah, not enough.
Ready for the hunt.
Alright, let's come over here and see what we got. We got another... Oh, that's the Anchorites. Alright. And we're going to go ahead and drop some Dragoons, and we'll take the Whisper of Goldrach. And unfortunately, we're going to lose this unit. Almost guaranteed. Oh, thank God. Alright, so they didn't do enough damage. Oh, look at that. The Anchorites are attacking us. Thank you.
Ready for the hunt.
We'll have to see if we can get some peace going between the Anchorites and I. So we'll come over to communications and we'll call them. We'll offer peace. Alright, we'll give them payment for this deal just to avoid their very destructive units.
Ready for the hunt.
Alright, we'll bring these guys back and heal them up. Hope that we can finish these guys off with our city. Alright, not quite, but good enough. Very, 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 very weak at this point. So, I didn't really get a chance to go over this. So, there's something that we want to talk about with this, right? So, first of all, I do want to say that I love the voiceover work, right? I think the voiceover work is almost across the board fantastic. There's a couple things that I don't like. There's a couple voice units. No, not voice. Cyber units that I don't like. Like high-pitched, like girly voices that just don't really feel right. And I mostly because they're kind of like the robot from Portal. No, not even that. They're actually like significantly worse than the robot from Portal. Let's see. What's we're gonna do here. So, House of the Borderland +2 algae from our. Well, we're not really quite in need of that yet. Let's go ahead and do the construction yard for these guys. Basically, it's gonna create our version of vehicles. We'll come back, heal these guys. It's really important to keep your units early on in the game. So the plan is really like, I mean, the at least for me, what I've seen is the ideal strategy is to make sure that you keep them alive until you can start building new ones, right? Another thing that I really like. So this is something that has been added. There's a bunch of new events to this game, and I really like almost all of them. Some of them are difficult. They don't tell you what they're going to give you, which I really appreciate. So there's some role-playing elements here that I really appreciate because you don't have any idea. All right, so no one in the right mind would allow Reavers inside a city. So basically, these Reavers have come through, and they're now looking to defect. And so you can enslave the defectors, you allow the Reavers to stay and remain with the citizens, but as indentured workers, their children will be free citizens. You can deport them, you can ignore them, or you can integrate them. I don't know what the difference is between enslaving and integrating them. You set up a district explicitly for... You know what, let's try that. We're going to integrate them. So they've got +1 population. And I assume that that means there's now a district for them? I mean, I don't see it. Yeah, weird. So that didn't really look any different than what I would have expected the enslaving. But maybe it changed my standing with something. I don't know. Like, maybe a little bit more information for that would be great too. Kind of sounded like it would give me a district. And it didn't do that. So, actually, what is built here? So we took on the mineral extractor. Looks like we're going to need some food. Let's see if there's a tile that will give us more food. There's not. So we might just use this tile to get some food here. Even though it would have given us a bonus to algae, we've got some better tiles for that anyways. So we'll go ahead and take those, and hopefully we're close to building some units that we can start to expand our reach with a little bit. There we go. And we'll come up here. There's a watchtower, so we'll try to get that. Looks like we're gonna have to go up and around for that. Oh, there's one here too, so we'll come over a couple. They're fully healed, great, so we'll bring them up here. And they'll take on that watchtower instead. And then we can build another set of dragoons. The dragoons, I think, are actually the best starting unit. They're melee units, but they are very powerful. And they're also very maneuverable, so I really like them. I like the voice stuff the best, actually. Which is wild, because I thought I'd like the cyber stuff, but the voice stuff, the units as they go. So we can go through now that you can see these guys. So the top tiers here, you know, you have things like the Phaneris Epicurean, the biological melee infantry that temporarily boost their own hit points and heal allies when attacking enemies in melee. These are the like, and then you got Leviathans now, so you got Titan units, right? And the Titan units are new to this version, and they're locked behind tier 9, which it takes quite a while to get here unless you just really you know, rush for them. I really like that the Titans exist. I think they're great. They're very powerful units. But the additional tiers that you haven't been able to see, because you've only had tier 6 before. Now we have Phaneris Hunters. I don't remember if they had tier 6 unlocked, but now you could do stuff like this. The Plangent Orlos, very cool looking creature, by the way. A lot of the creatures I think in the voice technology tree are the coolest looking in my opinion. Some of the cyber units do look pretty cool, but like I said, I think the voiceover work for some of the cyber units gets a little annoying to me. However, the cyber units, but the voice units always sound pretty cool. They're always kind of grovelly and you know, almost like demonic, but I know that they're alien. So I like the voice units the most. The human units are probably the second most, and the cyber units just because of the voice work. I mean, honestly, the cyber stuff does, like, the actual units themselves are pretty cool, and some of them are very strong. In fact, the cyber Leviathan or Titan is very cool too. I'm not going to give all of them away, but yeah, it's great stuff. I like the tiers. Clearly they dwindle. You know, you start off with quite a few, you start to lose a bit as you go through the tiers, but of course as you get to the end of the game, you're really just looking for, like, you know, planet killers, and you get them. I mean, these Titans are fantastically powerful, and it's a lot of fun to have them on the field. So alright, let's see what's next. So we're gonna go ahead and give this one, I really like the spawns deformities for the Whisper, and add some new units, like adds additional units I should say to the battleground. And oh, looks like I can't really get over there. There we go. Alright, now I can.
We fight as one.
Very good. We'll be able to get to the flesh tree after this. choose our research. So we didn't actually choose research. That's something I should have done. All right, so we can come over here. So fresh horizons, negative 25% influence cost on the words of the prophet. Actually, that's a good one. I'm just gonna try using that just so that I can use the words of the prophet a little bit. I know I jumped ahead to the tier 2, but we'll come back. Alright, yeah, we'll take the map exchange. So this is something I was going to talk about, and I kind of got sidetracked a bit. I really like the diplomacy in this game. It's pretty simple, right? And here we go with just a huge amount of, you know, new discoveries that we're going to right-click through. Or you can just execute and move to the next turn and they all go away. But the diplomacy is just enough that I feel like I have control over my game, but it's not so much that it feels like it's like overwhelming and completely necessary. In fact, you can win using diplomacy by making peace with everybody. I would say that's not really the fun part of this game. The combat is clearly the funnest part about this game, and the combat's second to none in this game. But the way that they've done it here, I think, is just fantastic, right? So like, not only is the voiceover work pretty good, but the amount of options you have with your diplomacy are good enough, right? Map exchange, trade treaty, research treaty, you know, buying units from each of the NPC factions, doing stuff like that. I think that's a lot, or enough, I should say, not a lot. It is definitely a step up from Gladius, where there was no diplomacy. And of course, with Warhammer 40k, you probably wouldn't want too much diplomacy. But the way that they've set it up here, it works out really well. I really like the role-playing elements, the way that each of the factions speak to you, the way that the dialogue changes, and the temper changes according to like what your standing is with each of the factions as well. I mean, it's all done very well. So, all right, we're gonna move here. Awesome. So we've taken that on. We're gonna take this on too. We're gonna get a bunch of new influence increases, and also we're going to take on these outposts, which are going to generate some more resources for us, which is great. Looks like the chiefess is up here.
Mind the tail.
So we'll go ahead and accept this.
It's here.
Again, I really like the voice work. It's done a very good job. All right, so what I want to do is I want to take a break for this, right? And we're going to continue to play through, and I'm going to continue to give my critical takes on the various gameplay elements and gameplay mechanics. But for now, I want to end this one episode by saying that this is easily Proxy Studios' best game yet, right? And there's not even a doubt in my mind. Like they've done a very good job. They went from Pandora to the Pandora expansion to then Gladius, and they've clearly started to really hone in their craft of becoming extraordinarily good war-centric 4X developers. I like this formula. I really think there's a great deal of expansion opportunities and DLC opportunities. I mean, just adding new leaders would be fun. Of course, expanding on the leaders they have, adding that asymmetry that I spoke about early in the game, and then creating just a bunch of different things. And if you haven't heard for our podcast, we did a podcast interview with these guys. They want to add like natural wonders where if you get to them, you know, you're given a significant bonus or something, which I think is great. I think there's a lot of room for stuff like that. And I'm just really impressed with what they've done here. I think that for a small studio and what could have easily just been just making Gladius 2.0 and it would have worked, right? And people would have bought it. I think that they've taken their own universe here. They've created a great universe that's full of great and interesting new personalities and set it in a very similar grimdark world, but now they have full reign over the IP, right? And I like that a lot. I think that there's a lot of room for some exploration into a variety of new mechanics, a variety of new leaders, a variety of new units, whatever it is. Like I really appreciate what they've done here. They've built a really cool universe, and they've started it off on a really strong foot. Zephon is one of my favorite 4X games of the last few years. I've really enjoyed my time with it. I've got about 60 hours with it, and I still feel like I'm just kind of like, as far as like some of the tactics and maybe even like the best ways to go through the tech tree, I still feel like I'm not really figuring that out yet, which is great. There's still room for that, right? And honestly, the asymmetry isn't so bad that I feel, you know, I feel like I'm starting to play the game. I honestly enjoy playing a new game every time I start a new game, even if it does feel a bit samey between the affinities, right? Like if I had just started with another voice affinity last game, I played through with a cyber affinity last game, and if I had gone to another cyber affinity, I think I would have felt like I was playing the same game again. But I've, of course, chosen a voice affinity here, and I'm really enjoying, you know, coming back to the voice guys. So with that said, if there's one thing you're gonna take away from all this is the game is great. I really think that what I don't know what the price point's gonna be, but I think that anything $40 and under would be well worth your money. I've gotten 60 hours of this. I can imagine getting at least 100, and with the like almost undoubtedly lengthy DLC and expansion list that'll come and support. They do a very good job of supporting the base game every time they've done this, and it's a lot like the Paradox scheme where they're releasing major patches with their DLC and expansions. I think that you're going to get your money's worth. And for a 4X game of a new universe like this, I'm really excited. And I think Proxy Studios should be very proud of themselves. And I'm looking forward to what the future looks like. So we're going to continue our playthrough over the next few days. And I'm going to continue to kind of pick apart some of the things that I do and don't like. And we'll talk more about that in the next episode. Until next time, this is Rob from Explominate. Keep exploring.